Hi everyone, Liluska here. I'd like to share with you 4 cards I made using Cover Up Die Diamond Lace by Lil Inker Designs. So for the first card, I've picked inlay die cutting technique. I need 2 panels. I picked one in purple, one in pink. You need to die cut both of them. With the purple, you don't need to save the dots unless you want to use them later on in a shaker card. You have to cover the opposite side of your panel with double-sided tape and make sure you cover every single hole. For the pink one, once you die cut it, don't remove it off the die cutting plate yet until you put the purple one on top, matching every single spot. So now when you turn it over and carefully remove the die, you will have the pink dots right on top of the holes in your purple panel, and you can just press them in. I'm using a little embossing tool. So when you remove your pink panel, you will have all the pink dots right on the spot where you need them to be, and you just need to fill in all the holes that are missing a little paper dot. To make sure you don't lose any of the dots, just run your panel through the die cutting machine. You can also use a rubber mat, and once you run it through, don't use the die, just the plates. You will have all the spots pressed firmly in and you won't lose them later on. For the card, I picked this Best Wishes sentiment and I heat embossed it with the platinum embossing powder. But before I adhered my diamond with the sentiment, I added a bit of golden thread just to make it look more interesting. And also I punched out some tiny hearts out of golden glitter paper and add them onto my card as well. Now I like the pattern of the cover-up die, so I wanted to make one card just to show the pattern itself without adding anything to it. So I simply die cut the front of my card base. I grabbed my favorite green cardstock for that. I wrapped the card base with some twine and die cut word thanks out of craft cardstock. I didn't like how it looked after I add the enamel dots onto my card, and Wink of Style didn't work. Coloring with marker, I didn't like that, so I picked one of the inks from Simon Says Stamp that matched the colors of my card, inked the cardstock with that ink, and die cut the word out of that inked cardstock. Next, I adhered the die cut on top of the craft word thanks, and that added some dimension to my die cut. I don't like those twine ends sticking out, so I decided to just glue them onto the card base. I made another one layer card with this cover-up die, and this time I used one of the die cut panels as a stencil. I adhered it to the card base using repositionable adhesive. I used Peacock Feathers Distress ink and a dauber. Because I'm using a paper and it's a little thick, the dauber is great in transferring ink through the paper onto my card base. You can use this paper stencil to ink the whole card base. I only needed to have it inked partially. Next, I die cut the word smile out of black and teal cardstock. The reason I did that is it will give my die cut a little more dimension as I glue both die cuts together. Before adhering the word smile onto the card, I decided to add some silver thread and wrapped it quite a few times around the bottom of my card. The ends, I just tied them and left a little knot in the spot where I knew that the word smile will cover them and they won't be visible. I used adhesive foam to adhere my die cut onto the card, and to add even more sparkle, I used some clear Wink of Stella on the die cut. And to finish up the card, I just added a couple enamel dots in different colors. I really like to use those on my projects. For my last card, I decided to do something I would call colored inlay die cutting. So I die cut a white cardstock panel, and I need to keep all the dots, so very carefully remove the top die cutting plate and keep it on the plate until you cover the whole back of your panel with the double-sided tape. Then carefully turn it over and press all the holes in your cover plate so that the paper dots fit back into their spots, and carefully remove the die. After that, you will only have a couple spots to fill in with the dots that fell out when you removed the cutting plate. Next, I grabbed peacock feathers and Persian green zig watercolor markers and colored all the tiny dots on my die cut panel. It does take a little bit of time, but I like the look of it, so I thought it's worth the effort. Next, I die cut some flowers out of teal cardstock, and to add some dimension to those flowers, I used a little foam mat and an embossing tool, and also my fingers. So I bent the petals of the large flowers with my fingers, and for other flowers, the smaller flowers and the leaves, I used embossing tool only. After I finished with the flowers, I decided I want to add a tiny strip of the same cardstock I die cut the flowers from onto my card. I used a paper trimmer to make the strip. I thought maybe I'll put it at the top of the card, but then the bottom spot looked a lot better to me. So I adhered it at the bottom using 1/8 of an inch wide double-sided tape, and trimmed all the excess cardstock that was sticking out after I adhered the strip. Now I played a little with the flowers, arranged them on the card base, and after I was happy with what I got, I glued them on. And with these larger flowers, I decided to cut off the petals, and this way I got some additional leaves. I wanted to add something in the middle of my flowers, and I played a little with the die cut paper circles and different colors of enamel dots, and at the end decided to use the black enamel dots. The flowers still look to me like they're missing something, so I took clear Wink of Stella and used it on the top layer of the flower petals, and then I took the white Wink of Stella and used it on all other petals and the leaves, and what it did, it created really nice effect because it is white, but you still can see the color of the cardstock through the white. I put some tiny clear drops by Pretty Pink Posh onto my card, and all I had left to do now was add a sentiment. I die cut the word thanks out of black and teal cardstock and glued them together, as I really like the firmness that gives me. I attached the word thanks onto my card using dimensional adhesive, and that finishes up my projects that I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And if you like my video, give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again.